Very good. Good afternoon. Thank you and welcome. This seminar is about announcing and public speaking. And I am the announcer for a wonderful event we're having here, Sentimental Journey to Cub Haven 2024. And we're meeting at the Piper Aviation Museum here at Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. The first thing I have in my suggestions for announcing is, if necessary, introduce yourself. So I will. Hi, I'm Roger Theil. I'm the announcer here. Now, know before you go on stage, why am I speaking here? Am I the chief announcer, or am I part of another entity? If so, I need to know what that entity is and the limits of how far I can relate to them. As we get started, I have the three most important words to tell you in pretty much all of announcing and possibly in all of human conversation. The three words they are: only emotion endures. They were originally said by a man named Ezra Pound, who was very controversial, had quite a few heavy issues, but those three words are indisputable, and I'll be mentioning them again in this afternoon's talk. Okay, when introducing a guest, save the guest's name for last. In other words, he restored that beautiful C-54 Douglas Provider aircraft and is doing all sorts of work on the Berlin Aircraft Historical Foundation. Will you join me in welcoming Tim Chop? Okay, what I did was I kept the pentameter of that such that it felt like something and also was crescendo energy when I introduced Tim, and I've done that a couple times, welcoming Tim to Sentimental Journey. Okay, the other thing is to save the highest impact item that you got for the last. For example, the Piper Cub came to be known for what a light plane is. In all situations, try to save the highest energy level for the last. In 1940, Piper Aircraft was able to advertise outsells all other light aircraft combined. Quite a comment. Think opposites. Anything you can do, because opposites bring up emotion and can be done in a favorable way. Why, what Tim Chop has done with that beautiful Douglas transport airplane, inside the airplane are all sorts of displays with aircraft models and with examples of the great Berlin airlift and illustrations and photos. Why, all of us have seen airplanes inside a museum. This is a museum inside an airplane. Okay, when working with another announcer, strive to give the other some setups. So in other words, if I was dealing with another announcer, I would say, well, you know, Danny, you had something really interesting to say about that last year. And since then, though, there's been developments in that field. Tell us a little about them there, will you, Danny? Okay. Rather than neutralize the other announcer by saying something like, well, you know, the great developments we had there had to do with landing gear and judging rules and a couple of other things there. Do you remember that, Danny? Well, Danny says, yeah, but I haven't given him anything to say. So try to give the other announcer some setups. And I've worked with one announcer who loves to get setups, and it is not in his instinct to give them. And there's nothing any of us can do about it. And he's a great guy, and working a solo voice, he does okay. But it's so much better if you can react to the other and think in terms of baiting, not a very positive hook for the other announcer. Dealing with a heckler or intrusive person. Okay, on some level, an old pro can handle it. On some level, we're all still learning. And on some level, you're on your own. But your goal is to neutralize him or her without resorting to negative energy. That could be a compliment, if nothing else works, about the clothes they're wearing. But something that gets them off that pattern of anger or whatever it is, to the degree you can do it. Everyone tries. You may never succeed in this 100% of the time, and I hope it doesn't ever happen to you, but neutralize that energy if you can. When you have an interviewee, make your first question or questions so that interviewee can answer with a positive. Don't talk, I was so sorry to hear about the bad inspection report you got on your airplane, last October. What happened then? No. Want to say, I heard that since you got some challenges last fall, that you've made a really great breakthrough in the work you did on those long winter months, but that a lot of people in your EAA chapter have said how much you have to report. Why don't you tell us a little about it right now? Okay? Eddie, you followed the award system for that type of airplane. Tell us what you found. Again, give them something to say that's positive. Here is an old expression from the world of writing. Sorry about the long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one. Meaning that to simplify something is the hard part. It is easy to complexify and hard to simplify. Try to work that into your announcing or public speaking as much as you can. And now with a friend here, I just met him earlier today here at Sentimental Journey, but I'm going to go physically through a thing about introducing a guest. When I am introducing another person to become speaker, I'm going to then give this man's name, and then he and I are going to pass each other, and there is a choreography. Watch me what I do. I'm going to make sure that my guest passes closest to the audience. This is announcing choreography, if you will. Ready, sir? Okay, and now to tell us his aviation experiences is my friend and colleague. Will you join me in welcoming Don Taylor? Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I'm just going to talk for about 30 seconds here, and it's going to be a very brief conversation, but I just wanted to comment on the high price of learning to fly nowadays. I was just by a flying school a couple of weeks ago and noticed that the price for flying instruction in a 150 was $175 an hour. When I learned to fly in 1966, it was $15 an hour. And that was whether there was an instructor there or whether I was solo. I'm not sure who was paying for the instructor, but it was $15 regardless. And so things have changed a lot. I'm glad I learned to fly back then, and I have been enjoying it ever since. That's all I got to say. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Don Taylor. Okay, notice that in each case, I let the other speaker pass closer to the audience. It's just choreography. And again, thank you, Don Taylor. Here's another one when you're announcing. Speak slower than you have to, and with many announcing gigs and many years, if all goes well, you are buying time because you're really thinking of two things at once. In other words, if someone says, let's say, or if something comes up and I'm have to do a process to figure out what I'm going to retort to it, I'm saying, why, yes, I know others who have had that problem. In fact, I remember a guy from Iowa, right. No, but if you run into that situation in a light sport, here's what they did to get themselves, out of it or to make it okay again with the local authorities. Now, what I was really doing while I spoke the first few words was thinking what I was going to say to remedy the situation. It takes time. It is hard to do. It's a mental exercise, maybe like a blackjack dealer which cards are not being played. Okay, possible straight or possible pair, whatever it is with the world of those who work in casinos. But you're trying to think of more than one thing at the same time to help this appear to slow down. You can even seem like, I barely know what I'm going to talk about next, but if you're using that time to really figure it out, then it's okay. There are also throwaway answers like, hey, that's a good question. You buy time and maximize your response. Avoid superlatives unless it's a big win-win known by everybody in the room. And here are two words that save announcers all everywhere, okay? The words are one of. Okay, if I say the Mustang was the best fighter we had in World War II. Okay, the problem is there's going to be hand after hand raised in that room. I think it was the Bearcat, or I think it was the Wildcat, or I think it was the Thunderbolt. But whatever it is, you're opening up for controversy. Instead, say the Mustang was one of the best fighters we had in World War II. All of a sudden, you take that edge off. The words "one of" will save you from a lot of boxing in. Try to always give yourself a way out, and always give your interviewee a way out. Now, when Don there was commenting about the chafing he felt over the price of flight instruction, I'm trying to think of a way now. In what way can I make that scene better for Don as Don leaves the podium? Well, as it happens, Don expertly gave a tag that made everything all okay again, returning it to a positive atmosphere. He said, "But I like flying so much that I'm willing to go through this negativity, etc." The point is, he did my work for me. Thanks again, Don. Mild flattering of an interviewee is okay. Beware of superlatives, except at the end when you have crescendo energy. Here's another thing. Think about, say, a given year at an annual event. For us, it would be Sentimental Journey here to Cub Haven. And if I were describing Sentimental Journey 2023 as I was leaving the event, I would be, well, you see, this is what happened, and this, and then let's see, the champion plane was this, and the one that really diverted everybody's eyes on the judging line was this, da-da-da. If I was asked to do it now, I could summarize Sentimental Journey 2023, now a year later, in 15 or 20 words. What you want to try to do is strive for this level of efficiency in the moment. In other words, as if a year had gone by and you were only reciting the highlights. Here's one that's hard for everyone, not just announcers, but the world in general. Try to be as good a listener as you are a talker. Everyone's working on this one, especially me. I have to, when I'm thinking about announcing and I leave the podium, and I'm not even listening to what my interviewee was saying because I'm so worried that I'm going to come back to the podium and make it all work. But I try to listen to others as much as I announce, and I'm still working on it. We all are. Okay, how about this one? You know, I kind of like Aeronca airplanes, but there's that ever-present controversy over the Piper product. I just don't know. No, here's a remedy sentence. As good as the Aeronca airplanes were, I think Pipers were just a tad better. You can do that. And it's still win-win because you favorably commented on Aeronca airplanes. You can use this universally in the world of public speaking. Listen to your own recorded voice and get as used to it as possible. This will help you if you ever are working in sound reproduction, but also it'll help you with your own speaking in the moment. And now we have technology of all sorts. Recite something and listen to your own voice. When I first did this as a boy, it was, what is it? At that point they had cassette tapes. Actually, it was reel to reel. But anyway, when I heard my own voice, I said, "What is that?" And everybody started chuckling. That sounds just like you. Anyway, okay, your emotional range here as a speaker. You can be like a class clown, but you can never do it against another person. The only butt of a joke as you are getting started is only one person and one person only, and that's yourself. So strive to keep things win-win. Maybe you can do some gentle kidding after time goes by. With another announcer, I worked for a while, and I said, "Gee, thanks for saying you're looking good." That's what they kind of say to guys when they're over the hill, isn't it? Well, no, not really. Okay. Anyway, by the way, Eddie, you're looking good. That was funny, and it's also win-win, and we had established warmth so that we knew it was okay. How about a gentle joke about opposites? You know, after that story was told, there was not a wet eye in the house. Okay, we're used to hearing the opposite. Yourself as the butt of a joke. You know, I went on a trip with Eddie. Could you stand a traveling companion who only told bad jokes? Well, Eddie couldn't either. In other words, take it away from Eddie and put it on my shoulders every single time, unless you have established enough warmth not to have to do that. Now here's another thing that's hard to do, and that is to act as if something just occurred to you. Wow, gravity is a remedy? I never thought of it before. Anyway, okay, so here's another one. If you get stage fright, and by the way, almost everybody in announcing and public speaking does, you may have heard the old classic advice, why, imagine that the entire audience is in their underwear. Maybe that will help you. What I'm going to say instead, though, is feel your fear. Now, I don't mean a psychological confront group. I just mean it's okay to pause for a few seconds while you go through your stuff. People will understand this. So if I'm saying, geez, you know, that was when I was back in junior high, and I'll never forget, and I just, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, oh, and I just kind of always kept that one with me, but moved on from it. Sure I did. Okay. Now, whatever happens, strive to return the situation to positive. Pose questions so the person being interviewed can make a contribution. You know, I've never flown in that part of the country, but I've heard triumphs and challenges of flying over the mountains. But you've done that, haven't you there, Eddie? What was it like? Something like that. Beware of risking a downer response. That should be self-obvious. Now here's a throwaway line that you can use anytime you want. You know, did you hear what happened after all the commotion that happened at the fly-in back last October? It says, yeah, but I never did find out what all the shouting was about. Now, maybe there was no shouting, maybe you didn't hear it, but you can throw away lines like that, and it engages people and enables the other person, perhaps an announcer, to be able to continue the line of talk. Let's see. For an unusual presentment you might make, like I'm gonna have 6 school kids stand up here and recite a single word that they think is the most dear to their hearts. Whoa, I don't know about this one. I don't know what he's doing. By the way, that's not a good idea. But the 6 magic words in show business are, if you can make it work. And if you have something unusual, rehearse it before you get out there and make sure you can make it work. If your interviewee has been through an ordeal, try to focus on a positive tag. Something you can do that will make this come to be a triumph of spirit of some sort, even if it is very small. For instance, an oldies DJ from back in the 60s was Cousin Brucey out of New York City. And I listened to Cousin Brucey when I was 3. Yes, that's it. But now, when I listen to Cousin Brucey, and he's still on the air, his voice has dropped about an octave. Sorry, Cousin Brucey. Okay, but he gets a certain amount of sob stories. Like, Cousin Brucey, it's not like when I was a sprightly youth and loved your so much. Since then, I've had, and then the caller goes on to talk about unhappiness after setback, and I've heard Cousin Brucey say, I'm sorry, caller, you're just loading us up with a little too much. Couldn't you go and, talk about something at least agreeable as well, or remember that other people are going through things like this? I've seen Cousin Brucey do this. That's because the caller has known him over the span of 60 years, and with the years, the decades, and age, a certain amount of negativity has crept in. It is possible, if you're the right sort of pro, to cope with this. And then I was showing before pictures of my heroes. They are Winston Churchill, an absolute important public speaker, but also Harpo Marx, who did no public speaking at all. I try to remember to have the solidity of Churchill, but also the upbeat tempo of Harpo Marx. Beware of stacking superlatives. In other words, that was simply stupendous, colossal, wonderful, magnificent, etc., etc. They stack on each other so much that they cease to have any meaning. By the way, a little lighthearted story there. Air show announcer Bill Sweet, what they used to say about him was, he talks like a circus poster. Anyway, by the way, you can also dare to leave moments of silence. In other words, nobody said you have to fill, you can too easily when you're doing public speaking, well, this happened then, and this happened then, meanwhile, I've got to get through this, I've got so much to tell the people. No, an artist will leave moments of silence and the audience will accept this and forgive you for it if you do it with experience. It's just another thing you have to learn. By the way, you want to try to strive to have your words be of rhythm, pentameter, and musicality. I can do that anytime I want. No, I can do that anytime I want. Now, you may not have to schmaltz it up quite like that, but your words, if possible, should have some range of expression, and it's okay to go a little on the slow side as you meter them out this artistic way. I'm about finishing up here. If the interviewee falters, do your best to save the day and return the situation to an upbeat, positive feeling. Remember, only emotion endures. A brief discussion here on, first of all, I'm doing this in natural voice here at the Piper Aviation Museum Forum Hall, but I've got a couple of props here with me. Here, for instance, is an empty microphone holder as part of a podium, and I will pantomime holding a handheld microphone. And here's another type. This is obviously a fixed mic stand, and this may surprise you, but I still have trouble with this, that when I am talking in some situations, I want there to be a fixed mic because I am a little nervous holding a microphone, and I have announced things hundreds and hundreds of times. I also sing karaoke, and you know how all you karaoke artists, well, I don't know how much I love you, so whatever. And they're just going to town, gyrating back and forth with the handheld, usually cordless microphone. But I don't like that, and I like to do it right up here. It connects me, I believe, back to the 1940s when that was absolutely necessary. But also, it's just my style. People have criticized me for it. People have said it's okay, etc. Don't feel bad if you are uncomfortable with a handheld or a tethered, or that is a microphone on a stand. Okay, if you have several items, say it could be guests, it could be stories, start with the second best. Open up with that one. Then fill in all the others and end with, of course, your best. Finally, strive for it to be perfect, but know that it will not be. You are always, always learning. Thank you for the seminar on announcing and public speaking. Thanks for coming. Okay. By the way, I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of expert videographer Keith McAndrew. Thank you so much, Keith.